Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantosti Abhadrani Vidunoti Sahasratam नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 11, 51 through 53. Just 1 second. Okay. Verse 51. Tam apantam sanirgya tundayor Durbhyam pakam kamsa sakham satampati pasyatu baleshu dadara leelaya mudhavaho viranava divyakasham. Synonyms: tam, unto Bakasura, apatantam, again endeavoring to attack him, sa, Lord Krishna, nirgya, capturing, tundayo, by the beak, durbhyam, with his arms, bakam, Bakasura, Kamsa Sakham, who was the friend and associate of Kamsa, Saptam Patihi, Lord Krishna, the master of the Vaishnavas, Pasyatsu, while observing, Baleshu, all the coward boys, Dadara, bifurcated, Leelaya, very easily, Mudha Avaha, this action was very much pleasing. Viranavat, like the grass called Virana, as it is bifurcated, Divokasham, to all the denizens of heaven. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When Krishna, the leader of the Vaishnavas, saw that the demon Bakasura, the friend of Kamsa, was endeavoring to attack him with his arms, he captured the demon by the two halves of the beak, and in the presence of all the cowherd boys, Krishna very easily bifurcated him, as a child splits a blade of Virana grass. By thus killing the demons, Krishna very much pleased the denizens of heaven. Verse 52. Tada bakarim suraloka vasina samakiran nandana mallika divi samidire chanaka sankha samstavais tadviksha gopala sutta vishishmere. Synonyms: Tada, at that time, Baka Arim, unto the enemy of Bakasur, Sura Lokavasina, the celestial denizens of the higher planets, Samakiran, showered flowers, Nandana Mallika Dibhi, with such flowers as Mallika, which are grown in Nandana Kanana. Samidire also congratulated him, Cha, and Anakasanka Samtavei, by celestial kettle drums and conch shells accompanied with prayers. Tat Viksha, by seeing this, Gopala Sutta, the cowherd boys, Vishishmere, were struck with wonder. Translation: at that time, the celestial denizens of the higher planetary system showered Mallika Pushpa, flowers grown in Nandakanana, Nandana Kanana, upon Krishna, the enemy of Bakasura. They also congratulated him by sounding celestial kettle drums and conch shells and by offering prayers. Seeing this, the coward boys were struck with wonder. Text 53. Muktam pakasyat upalabhya balaka ramadaya pranam ifendriyo gana stanagatam tam paribhya nivratta praniya vatsan brajam etyata jagu. Synonym: Muktam, thus released, Baka asyat, from the mouth of Bakasura, Upalabhya, getting back, Balaka, all the boys, the playmates, Rama Adaya, headed by Balaram, Pranam, life, Eva, like Indriya, senses, Gana, all of them, Sthana Agatam, going to their own place, Tam, unto Krishna, Parirabhya, embracing, Nivrata, being freed from the danger, Praniya, after collecting, Vatsan, all the cows, Rajam Etya, returning to Rajabhumi, Tajjagu, loudly declared the incident. Translation: just as the senses are pacified when consciousness and life return, so when Krishna was freed from this danger, all the boys, including Balaram, thought that their life had been restored. They embraced Krishna in good consciousness. And then they collected their own calves and returned to Vrajavumi, where they declared the incident loudly. Purport: it was a practice of the inhabitants of Vrajavumi to compose poetry about the incidents that occurred in the forest when Krishna performed his different activities of killing the asuras. They would compose all the stories in poetry or have this done by professional poets. And then they would sing about these incidents. Thus, it is written here that the boys sang very loudly. End of purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to read and narrate from Srimad Bhagavatam on this auspicious day of Bahulashtami, the appearance of Shamakunda and Radhakunda. And please forgive me for any of my shortcomings or any of my own interpretations while speaking on these verses. So right now we are in Canto 10, Chapter 11, and here we are seeing again Krishna's pastimes in Gokul, in Vrindavan. That's what is happening right now. And also in these verses, basically, we just finished the description of how Krishna killed Bakasur, right? So one of the demons is being described here. So in these three verses, really just reflecting upon the meaning and also what are the lessons to be learned from these three verses. So in this, it really represents Bakasura, right? So in our journey of spiritual life, one of the subtlest and the most dangerous obstacles is hypocrisy. In Sanskrit, it is said as damba or kapata, right? That's what it stands for, hypocrisy. So what happens is it hides behind the cloak of virtue, devotion, or knowledge. So it is like a disease that imitates health. Outwardly, everything may look perfect, right? Oh, look at this, perfect. Everything is perfect. The devotee is so perfect. But internally, the intention is so important. So a hypocrite may appear very holy, very perfect from outside, but the heart can remain untouched by love. And that's the situation. And all along, right, when I was like looking into this hypocrisy, over and over the verses that comes are about regarding this current age we are in, the age of Kali. The age of Kali is known as the age of hypocrisy. So it is very common, like that is everywhere, everybody, so I think maybe that's also the reason why it is a very hard time, right? Everybody has such a hard time trusting somebody, because we know that this is the world of hypocrisy and we don't know who we can completely trust. So that's the whole reason why that also happens. So the scriptures are repeatedly warning us that outward religiosity without inner sincerity will become a path not to Krishna, but an imitation of devotion. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1:14.4, it described the state of such a world, that deceit entered into dealings between friends, between brothers, between husbands and wives. So, can you imagine what the world is like today? There's so much deceit. Like as I said earlier, that trust is very hard to be found, even within close relationships. I was just listening to somebody sharing with me yesterday about something happened in India where this person was actually in a joint family, like in a very good family. But then what happened is, I guess when the parent was passing away, the brother wanted to have all the property in their name. So they forcefully made sure that when somebody else was in a difficult state of mind, they had this person write down everything, the will and estate, under that other brother's name, because they didn't want everything to go into this other person. And this is not just one story that we hear, right? This is such a common story we hear between close siblings. I mean, the siblings are fighting for things, for properties, and what happened to the taking care of the parents. So we see that this deceit is not just like outwardly, like in the corporate world or anything like that, but it is between close friends, relatives, and husband and wives even. And that's the whole reason also why we see there is such high rate of divorces today, because that trust or all of that is not even there. And that is what has been explained in the scriptures about this age of hypocrisy. So it's a very important thing, and Baka is representing that. So, but in contrast to that, Srimad Bhagavatam also is presenting us the cure, the shining example of the Vrajavasis, right? And we'll continue to discuss more about how their heart is and how they depict everything. So let's take a look at Bakasur, right? What did he stand for? Every time Krishna was killing a demon, so all of those demons were representing some of the unwanted values that are in our hearts. And Krishna is basically killing that demon in order to help us purify ourselves. So Baka is standing for the crane of hypocrisy. In Srimad Bhagavatam, here we just saw these verses, right? After Krishna kills the demon Baka, what happened? The Vrajavasis gather together and they are expressing concern. May our Krishna be safe. He should be free from all danger. So this carries a deeper meaning. So how is the crane Baka? If you have seen, right, the crane, how does he stand? He very quietly will stand, motionless in water, appears very calm and saintly, right? But the moment a fish comes, immediately it will just capture the fish. So that's exactly what it is. So outwardly, the crane looks like, oh, he's just sleeping, right? Just, very quiet, very calm and peaceful, but immediately can grab the prey. So that's exactly what it is. Outwardly showing the hypocrisy, showing outwardly peace, but inner there is greed. So in Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, in Manasiksha, verse 5, he mentions, O my mind, take shelter of the devotees of the killer of Baka, for only by their mercy we can be freed from duplicity. So when Krishna slays Baka, it symbolizes the destruction of the kapata within the devotee's heart. So why does Raghunath Das Goswami say that take shelter of the devotees of the killer of Baka? It just means that when pure devotees as they follow Krishna, they are also free from duplicity. And that will happen when somebody gets to that higher level of pure devotional service, right? In the beginning, definitely, as somebody said, right? Fake it till you make it. So I'm speaking for myself, like I try to do as much as I can because I'm thinking that one day I will be able to get to the place where I'm free from duplicity. But yeah, once somebody gets to that higher level, they are following exactly like Krishna. There is only purity, there is no duplicity in there. So then what is the root of hypocrisy, right? What's that root cause? Why is there so much hypocrisy in this world? It's because we are forgetful. The Bhagavatam is telling us when the soul forgets its eternal position as servant of the Lord, it begins to pretend, to act as if it were the master, the enjoyer, the doer. So this is what it is. And we can all relate to this very easily, right? Like how quickly we can get into the controlling mode. Like we want to control everything around us. And we want to be the enjoyer of everything. We are the master of everything we see around us. This is all happening because we have forgotten our relationship with the Lord and even our own identity. Like, who are we even? We are just such a tiny, minuscule particle of Krishna's creation. And we try to be the master of everything that we see around us. So, this false ego is the seed of all hypocrisy. When we try to appear as something other than what we truly are, right? So, what are we really? Our identity? We are a humble servant of Krishna. But anytime if we try to divert ourselves from that position of being the humble servant of Krishna, we are a hypocrite. That's really what it is about. And we are putting on a mask before the world and even before Krishna, right? That's exactly our position. That we think that we are all in all, we are this, we are that, we are so great and everything. And even before Krishna, we try to do that. But pure bhakti really will begin when we drop this mask of artificial appearance, of showing who we are not. So once we are able to be bold enough to drop the mask and really accept who we truly are, Krishna is going to be really opening his doors for us. So let's take a look at this too now, right? So in Bhagavatam 11:25, 2 to 4, in the 11th canto, the Lord explains that hypocrisy is actually in the mode of ignorance from tamas. And hypocrisy, pride, and arrogance arise from darkness. But by meditating upon me, one transcends these qualities. So while Krishna is saying that this is from the mode of darkness, he is also giving us the solution, focusing on him. Sridhar Swami comments that association with pure devotees will straighten the heart. And the crooked, the kutila, right, becomes riju, which is simple and honest. So when we are in the company of the pure hearted, we are reminded that Krishna sees not our performance, but our intention. It is so important what's in our heart, and nobody outside can really see it. Sometimes I think maybe our actions will demonstrate what it is, but for the most part, our intentions are always staying within us. I was just recently doing this class on communication skills and all of that, right? So we were talking about verbal and non-verbal. So what happens is, for the most part, we have an intention to communicate something, and then we are communicating. So what happens? So when we are communicating, and then we also have our behaviors. So the external person, whoever is looking at us, they are not seeing the intention inside. But what do they see? They see our words, they see our actions and our behaviors, right? So then that intention, what is within our heart, is always really true to ourselves. And of course, Krishna knows our intention too. So it is very important that we are in alignment of our intentions, our words, our actions, and behavior, and everything. So, for that, that's really what it is about. And how do we get there, as we have read so far, is that aligning ourselves with the scriptures and really taking up the path of devotion, pleasing Krishna. So how do we do that, right? Who are our examples? How do we do that? So the example even here in these three verses that we just read is the Vrajavasis. So the Vrajavasis, they have pure unalloyed devotion, right? Now, this is perfect contrast to what we just mentioned about hypocrisy. So their love for Krishna is unalloyed, without any false motive, without any calculation, without any pretense. They don't love Krishna because he's the supreme God. They love him because he is theirs. Their devotion is so spontaneous, so natural, unforced, and there is so much affection and not obligation. Mother Jashoda is scolding him, but not out of reverence, but out of love. Because what does she think? That if I don't scold Krishna, how is he going to grow up to be like a responsible individual person? I have to teach him the right things, right? The Gopas are wrestling with him and laughing with him as a friend. They never think that, oh, he's the supreme personality of Godhead. And the gopis are risking everything for him, not for liberation, but just because of love, right? We know of the story also where when Krishna had this headache and he wanted the dust, just to see like who is the topmost devotee, the gopis did not care. You know what? If we go to hell, it doesn't matter. All we want is Krishna to feel, to relieve of his headache, and they give the dust out of their feet. So that's the position of gopis. They care about nothing. They don't even care about their own status, because we have seen from the past times, right? Like even married gopis, little gopis, all aged gopis are all going when Krishna is playing the flute. So nobody even cares about their own personal status or anything like that. All they want is just be with Krishna and please him in all the ways that they can. So that is what is the real devotion. And it is coming from a genuine heart, a heart full of love. And that's the important part, how we can see that how hypocrisy can be contradicted with the pure love. And in Vrajavasis, so in the third verse, we saw, right, how they are offering the prayers, and Prabhupada is mentioning about the use of poetry. So that's also very important, right? Srila Rupa Goswami teaches that the essence of bhakti is rasa. It is an emotion that flows within the heart when the heart gets pure. So, in such a state, what happens is there is poetry, the song, and the dance, and all of this will come naturally. Because why? The love cannot just stay within your heart, and you are expressing all of it through all of these things. And I just heard about this in one other class, is that His Grace Ravindra Swarup Goswami, he said, he beautifully noted that if God were only energy, he could be described by physics. But Krishna, he is a person. So he could only be best understood through stories. And for love is the language of poetry. So Srimad Bhagavatam itself, right? It is composed full of poetries. There are so many poems in it. And so many, we see all of these different Queen Kunti's prayer and Gopi Geet, right? Venu Geet. There are so many poems that's even available in Srimad Bhagavatam. And even for just simple material, like simple example, also we can look at that, right? Whenever we see that in movies or anywhere, right? Whenever there is like this romance and things like that, what happens? What do? They're always writing poems, right, for each other. So the poetry is such a beautiful thing. And whenever there is love, it can be expressed to poetry. We also see that our acharyas, right? Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Narottam Das Thakur, they have written so many poems because it is easy to express the love and devotion through poem. And also, we know that back in the day, like when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was trying to preach. He knew that dry philosophy can sometimes be very difficult for the common masses. So it is easy to have poetries available. And even in the temple, right, we see that so many times we sing the beautiful songs, the devoice, the all the songs that has been given in our parampara, and it easily moves everybody's hearts. So basically, here also something is very important. One other quality, right? We saw from Rajvasis how we can have the pure devotion. And one other important quality is also Arjava, which is the simplicity. So the hallmark of this Rajvasi's devotion is also simplicity. There is no pretense. All their thoughts, words, deeds, everything is one. And Srila Prabhupada also often said, a devotee is straightforward. He does not act for diplomacy or deception. So when the heart becomes honest, it becomes very beautiful. And then it becomes so squeaky clean that then Krishna is reflected there. Like a still, like if there is a still lake and you see the reflection of moon, similar to like that, when there is a pure heart, Krishna's reflection comes in. So there are various examples also given in Srimad Bhagavatam about deceit, about the stories of, all of this hypocrisy. But again, time doesn't permit to go into all of that. I'm just going to say here, so with this pastime, what we just saw in the 3 verses, we can review the prayer, right? That can be having with a sincere heart. What can we pray really? Oh Lord Krishna, killer of the hypocrite Baka, please cleanse the crookedness of my heart. Make me simple like the cowherd men and women of Raja. So who are they thinking? They are only thinking of Krishna's happiness. And this devotion, like theirs, be truthful, tender, and free from disguise. I still remember once I went to this yatra with my Guru Maharaj to Vrindavan. And in the first lecture that he gave, that's exactly what he said, that let's pray to Srimati Radharani, that we get that free, that example, that kind of, we can follow in her footsteps and follow, that we may even get like a tiny percentage of the attraction that she has to Krishna. So that's exactly the prayer we have. And then unless we have a clean heart, free from hypocrisy, we will never be able to get to be pleasing Krishna or get his attraction. So true bhakti really, it begins not when we become perfect. See, this is important, right? We think that we have to be perfect, so many things we have to be perfect in everything, but that's really not the key factor here. But the perfection, but the really bhakti is about becoming honest about our weakness, our desires, and also our dependence on Krishna's mercy. So hypocrisy will die when our love towards Krishna is going to become real. And in the innocent love of the Vrajavasis, we find not only in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but even in Krishna himself. The Krishna, Krishna who is completely, who hides from pride and is captured by sincerity, by true loving devotion. So that's really in all, in the summary for these verses. So I hope I was able to do justice and able to explain all that. So please let me know if there's any questions or comments. Otherwise, we are good today. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
you put it in the YouTube.
YouTube. Yes, Prabhu, I did that. Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Hare
yeah.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.